Alrighty, so I hope you guys come to my channel for, honest opinions where I don't want to be going with the bandwagon with the crowd. So I just hope you guys come to my channel for an honest opinion on these games, because I am going to have to backtrack on what I said about Final Fantasy 15. So, okay, here it goes. I don't like Final Fantasy 15. And it's not even... And don't worry, this video is going to be completely spoiler-free. I'm going to be monitoring the channel, the comments to see, to weed out the guys that are going to try to troll this video. I'm going to have a separate video coming up soon where it's the spoiler-filled one. So look out for that later if you really want my opinion on very specific story elements that I did and did not like. But here's what I've recorded right now is pretty much one of my biggest problems with Final Fantasy 15, where I get the concept of driving in the car is, it wants to create this sense of camaraderie with your three party members, but I'm sorry, your other three party members besides Noctis. But it's like this kind of, basically, I feel like I'm waiting more than I'm playing the game. I feel like a lot of this is just busy work. So, in order to level up, you have to really keep doing this, where you have to grind out these, side quests that aren't the hunts. The hunts are actually really good, but the side quests that involve, going to this area, picking up this item, finding these certain items within this radius, and it's those side quests are fucking awful. They are awful. They are the most boring, lazy side quests I think I've ever seen in a JRPG. They are atrocious. And for a game like this that's been in development for so long, that is ridiculous. And it doesn't help that this game, the way you get to and fro places when you aren't fast traveling, which again, even fast traveling is another loading screen, another long loading screen. You have to drive a lot. And you can't just put the controller down and go out and do something I mean, you could take that risk if nothing will pop up. Prompto sometimes will go, oh hey, I wanna go do this, and then a notification will pop up regarding what Prompto said, and it will pause the game. So when you come back from say taking a shit or taking your dog out to walk or getting something to eat, the screen will not have loaded. It will just have stayed there on, oh, Prompto will now take pictures of Noctis more, or oh, Prompto will do this, and it's like you can't even rely on just leaving the screen to go do something else, and that sucks. That shouldn't be the case to begin with. You should not have to leave the game to go do something else to wait for it to load for 5 minutes, because that's what I consider these driving segments. Loading screens. Glorified fucking loading screens. They suck. They suck on the way to the side quests that also suck. That go back to the rewards that also suck. And yeah, part of this is what killed a lot of my enjoyment of this game, because I almost rather it had not been this big open world experience if they were just going to have it be like this, which to me, I don't get it. I don't get how people can find this compelling. Maybe initially, it had charm initially. It had charm where it was you were on this bachelor road trip, but it just doesn't really change all that much aside from the opening moments. The opening moments, they have a novelty to them, but the more you keep doing this, the more bored I just became. And that's pretty much what I thought about Final Fantasy 15 with these side quests. It was just boring. And that's not even, my only problem with the game. So, moving on from that, I honestly don't think this story is all that good. I think it's kind of bad, actually. Aside from the beginning and the ending, which I think the beginning is good. I think the ending is great. And I think the reason I'm not Like, usually when I'm disappointed in a game, which I am disappointed in Final Fantasy 15, but it's not like my #1 biggest disappointment, which might surprise some of you, because I think it has a stellar conclusion, has a stellar finale. So, like, that really softened the blow of, like, you know, like, me not being into it into Final Fantasy 15 as I should be. But the middle is kind of bad, especially when they start doing like the linear stuff halfway through. It's just like the storytelling just flies off the rails. It makes absolutely no sense. There's like missing key scenes in it that I will get more into with the spoiler video. Even like the environments themselves that you visit later on, they just kind of feel lifeless once you really start getting into them. Like the 2 big cities, they just feel like okay. It's like whatever. Like there's really there's no one like dynamic side quests. There's no interesting people to talk to aside from like the people you have to talk to in the main story. The side quests that you do get are, like I said, are god awful, boring bullshit. And then when you have to go like to and fro to get like these side quests, it's just, that's what these cities are. These cities to me just don't feel alive and populated. They just feel like barren wastelands of digital people that you get boring ass side quests from. And it just killed a lot of my enjoyment of this game. It really did, guys. And I don't want to be saying this about Final Fantasy 15, but I'm gonna be honest and say that like good chunk of my time with it, I flat out did not enjoy. Yeah, it also doesn't help when like some of the story missions are just so boring, particularly like the now like legendarily bad chapter 13, which I won't get into specifics about like what it is, but I'm gonna say that whoever came up with chapter 13 and designed it, fire them from Square Enix, slap them on the back of the head, tell them what a fucked up job they did, and send them on their way. Because it sucks. Chapter 13 fucking sucks. It is one of the worst fucking game experiences I've had, maybe ever. Like, honestly, like, ever. Like, people are already saying, like, it's the worst thing to come out of Final Fantasy, and I wouldn't disagree. It killed so much of my enjoyment of this game, and I almost wanted to quit. I honestly almost wanted to quit playing Chapter 13, where it's like this really shitty gameplay and tonal shift that just doesn't fit this story at all, and it's so long and so boring, where it goes on for like what feels like an eternity going through this crap. And it's just, and I know, and it's, you know, it's bad when Square Enix is like, oh, we need to issue a patch where we fix Chapter 13, and it's like, you had so many years to fix Chapter 13, and you didn't fucking do it. Same with what happens, like, story-wise in the second half. The second half feels so rushed, feels so anticlimactic, except for the finale, which is great. That it's like, you know it's bad when Square Enix has to go, oh, well, we need to release a patch for free that will fix the story. We need to actually, like, localize all this shit and fix it. And it's like, you didn't think about that before? Also, like, you need to watch Kingsglaive if some of this shit makes any sense. And, like, there's this whole thing with, like, people, I keep hearing from people, you know, like, oh, I emotionally connected with these characters. I followed them on their road trip, and I felt so, you know, like I had developed a real friendship with them. But in all honesty, I didn't. I thought these guys, like Prompto, Ignis, and Gladius, are the most, like, broad stroke protagonists, party members you could have. To me, they just weren't particularly interesting in the long run. Like, these guys, like, people are like, oh, well, they're such a good team. Like, really, I don't feel the same way about these characters that I do about Titus and his crew from 10, or Cloud from 7, or even Squall from 8. I don't feel, like, really, like, emotionally connected to these guys, at least until the very end. And at the very end, it's awesome. And it's like, okay, why wasn't this part of the experience to begin with? I wanted the beginning to be like the entire game, because the entire game without that ending would have just been even worse. So and that's not to say, like, you know, all of it is bad. Of course, there's like bits of it where it's like you'll get an occasional boss or two that are really awesome, like that Titan battle that was showcased so poorly in the E3 demo for Xbox. That is actually a really fun fight. I quite enjoyed that. Fighting the Leviathan is really fun. Fighting the final few bosses is really fucking fun. Even if your party members are practically useless and you have to constantly babysit them. But yeah, you'll get the occasional good moment or two. You get the occasional moment of even interacting with these characters that are, you know, insightful. And I wish the whole game had been like that. So okay, let's think positive. What can I say positively about Final Fantasy 15? Besides, you know, like the obvious, like the music, which is like one of my all-time favorite scores now. The graphics, which are beautiful and run surprisingly well, you know, a decent 30 frames on PS4, a regular PS4, no doubt, which is something I can't say about The Last Guardian. The hunts that I talked about previously, those are actually pretty cool. I like the hunts. The occasional story mission will be alright. I like the dungeon system. I like that the dungeons actually do feel, you know, like labyrinthian and dangerous, and I do like them. I like the rewards you get from them. Occasionally you'll get different party members, and some of them are actually... One in particular is a badass who I really liked as a party member, just not as a character. But yeah, that's really... Honestly, like, that's really all I've got as far as Final Fantasy 15 goes. Like spoiler free. I can't talk about what I had like a big problem with until I get to like the spoilery stuff, because a lot of my problems with this game are specifics to the story. And like, you know, some of my biggest compliments of the game are also specifics to the story. So like, for a more in-depth thing on that, you guys are probably gonna have to wait for the spoiler-filled one, which I'll get done sometime this week, and I'll have up. I'm also getting ready to see Rogue One tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to that. So that should be cool. But yeah, anyway, yeah, Final Fantasy 15 was not taken with it, which is disappointing because I was really looking forward to this game. And I just don't understand how people, you know, really can be like calling it like the best thing to happen to Final Fantasy in a long time, and it's like, yeah, it's better than 13. That's not saying much because there's a lot of things better than 13, but it's like, I see the skeleton, I see the groundwork for this game that can really work for a much more focused, less protracted development cycle for Final Fantasy 16, which they will eventually do. I don't care what Square Enix says about how, you know, oh, if 15 does well, that's the only way we're going to do 16. No, they're going to do 16, okay? They're going to do 16, so it's going to happen. So anyway, that's it for me for Final Fantasy 15. Big letdown, honestly. Like, I was let down by it. And I wish I could be with the people that really, really enjoyed it. So, but it's not the biggest disappointment of the year, and I'll get to why in my spoiler-filled video. But yeah, that's me. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like to see, subscribe. Let me know what I definitely expect a lot of you to disagree with me on this. And I don't want to dislike this game, because I was really looking forward to it, but god damn, it's like when you have crappy side quests and crappy driving with crappy loading screens, with crappy main missions, with a crappy story most of the time, it's gonna let me down. And Final Fantasy 15, you fucking let me down. Big time.